So in November last year, at the age of 24, I bought my very first car, and that first car being a Porsche Cayman. Bit of a stupid idea, and I made a few mistakes that I certainly don't want you to make. So Porsche Cayman as a first car, is it a good idea? Is it a bad idea? I will let you guys know in this video. And to the years and months leading up to that day, I was willing to do anything to get that car. And when I mean anything, I meant I would settle for nothing less. I wanted that loud sports car that would wake the neighbours up at 4 in the morning, regardless. That is what every petrolhead wants, that is what every petrolhead dreams of, and that is what I wanted to do. And as a petrolhead, this is all you think about. All you think about is owning the car, having it in your driveway, but you don't actually think about the feasibility, the logistics of actually owning this car, and this is where the problems start. So here are my 5 tips of things to be aware of when buying a car like this. Let's go. So the first thing to generally be aware of when buying a car like this is usability. First question you need to ask yourself is, what are you using the car for? So this may seem like a very stupid question, but it's a very important question to ask yourself. For example, if you're going to be using it on weekend drives, you can factor in any modification, any exhaust, any ridiculous body kit, but you need to consider not only the modifications you use, but if the type of car is usable daily. So for example, if you guys have seen what I have done to my car, I've got a catback exhaust. Question to ask yourself, do you want a loud car? Can you live with it daily? For example, if I put this car at 2,000 to 3,000 RPM, I cannot hear a single thing. Are you going to be able to live with that? Probably not. Not every day. You know, I use this car in the evenings to potter around, potter to the shops, things like that. You know, I'm not doing my commute in this car, so that is something really important to consider. Yes, you know, you might look cool, it might sound cool and exciting, but trust me, no matter how much of a petrolhead you are, it gets boring. So the first question you genuinely need to ask yourself is, can you afford to run the damn thing? You know, do the calculations in your head, write it on a piece of paper. What is the MPG of the car? What is the average MPG of the car in urban areas, in city driving, in country driving? You know, consider the best and worst case scenarios, and can you afford it in the best case and of course the worst case. I don't want to be Captain Sensible here, but it is something you really need to consider. You know, I am filming this during one of arguably the worst fuel crises we've had in the last 100 years, really. Fuel prices are through the roof and it's extortionate to run any car. Fortunately, this car does about 22 miles to the gallon, which for a sports car isn't half bad, but you really need to consider that. Okay, and point number 2, this again is a very obvious one, but I just want to remind you guys that these are the questions you need to consider. Can you live with this car? And this is a very broad question, really. What does it mean, can you live with a car? Can you drive it from A to B? Of course you can. Do you enjoy driving it? Most likely yes. But what I mean is, if it's got an exhaust system, can you live with it every day and it doesn't drive you effing insane? Maybe, maybe not. You know, me for one, I am a huge car guy who loves straight pipe exhaust, catback exhaust, the lot. This car has a catback exhaust, and I'll be honest, at 2,000 to 3,000 RPM, it drones like crazy and it does my head in, especially in long driving. You know, in 5th gear, 60 miles an hour on the motorway, it is in that 2,000 to 3,000 RPM zone, and it drives me insane. And if you're going to be dailing this sports car to and from work, up and down the motorway, the highway, really consider that. And another thing is storage and boot space. A very obvious question you need to ask yourself is, does the lifestyle that I'm living and the car that I want to buy, does it fit? And this is ironically whilst sat at a red light, but has it got a heavy clutch? Is the steering heavy? Is the gearbox clunky? Can you live with it as a daily driver? You need to ask yourself those questions. You know, petrol heads like to overlook these, but it's something you really need to consider. You know, as a petrol head myself, you know, I try to overlook, you know, the slightly clunky gearbox, the slightly heavy clutch, the very heavy steering. I try to overlook this, but they don't go away. The problems never go away, and if anything, they get worse. So really think about the usability of the car in that way. And point number 3, and this is for a very select type of audience, type of petrol head, and this is modifications. This is something you really need to carefully consider if you're using this sports car, or supercar for that matter, in the everyday world. And the two questions I like to ask myself before making that purchase on eBay or Alibaba or anything like that is, firstly, how will it affect the driving and the usability of the car? Is it positive? Is it negative? Secondly, is the price that you're paying worth the pain that you're going to be enduring for the next year or so, however long? And if the answer to those questions is yes, it impacts the daily driving of my car, and yes, it is very expensive, it doesn't necessarily justify the modification, really think twice about doing it. And one modification that I have done to my car that has most definitely impacted the daily drivability is the huge front splitter. Now this really reduces my ability to go over speed bumps, get into supermarkets, and yeah, we're actually going to do a test right now. We're going to head into Waitrose, prop the camera up, and see if we can successfully make it in without scraping. This is the first time I'm doing this, so let's see how we get on. Okay, so here's me switching over to a voiceover. Here's me running to get the car, trying to do it in a 1-point turn, but failing miserably. Here we go, just going for a run up. Here we go, this is the big test. Going in nice and slowly. The front getting very close, but there we are. Job's a good one. Mission complete. Okay guys, so mission complete on that one, but just about. And on to my next point, and that is, again, I would say a very overlooked factor, and that is servicing, repairs, bills. And you know, I would say this is the biggest trap that I fell into when purchasing this car. I completely underestimated the cost of servicing a car like this. It is, I understand, a high performance car. However, the way I looked at it, guys, was, you know, Porsche, well known for its build quality, its long-lasting engines, all things like that. And I didn't think that once you purchase the car, you would really need to be servicing it and maintaining it at much of a cost. And I was wrong. And personally, I would say I fell into the trap of being quite naive at the cost of upkeeping a car like this. My justification was Porsche is associated with quality, build quality, etc. And once you purchase the car, not much is really needed to be spent to upkeep it. And boy, I was wrong. Let me show you guys the very first major service that I had on the car. Yes, it was a major service, but the owner had all of the papers of all major and minor services, and this was just 12 months prior to its last major service. So take a look at how much it cost. And yes guys, your eyes did not deceive you, that is nearly £5,000 worth of service, repairs and labour. And as you can imagine, this absolutely blew me away. The previous owner was fantastic with all of the paperwork that he provided, and looking at it, once I saw this bill, a lot of the parts and a lot of the things that he in fact repaired and replaced himself, or through a Porsche specialist, had to be replaced again. I understand that this is coming up to, well, over a 15-year-old car now, but God, I did not expect it to be that much. But guys, I don't want to sound all doom and gloom, but I've got both windows down here, and I just want you guys to have a real listen to the roar of this engine. Guys, I'm just going to quickly change over camera angles just so you can have a real listen to the engine and the sound of the exhaust. It's a fantastic catback exhaust, stainless steel, so it sounds fantastic. Like I said, I'm having a few issues with the drone at the moment, but on a drive like this, on a day like this, you can't beat it. Take a listen. Right guys, so for the final part of this video, I just thought that I'd park up over in this clearing in the woods, and the final part is quite an interesting one. It's appreciation and depreciation. Cars like this do fluctuate up and down a little bit more than your usual hatch. And I'm filming this where a lot of car manufacturers are struggling to get hold of chips at the moment, so used cars are actually shooting up at the moment. So this is definitely something to consider, because when you're purchasing this car, I would personally consider it as an investment, of an asset. So it's just something to be very considerate of. So that's just another thing to consider. I personally consider this car as an investment, as an asset, especially with the Porsche branding. With any sports car really, you know, there is some prestige to it, some high class element to it. So it can certainly fluctuate and appreciate. So definitely something to be wary of, especially with modifications as well. Obviously this has been modified quite significantly. That being said, the previous owner did a lot of that, so the appreciation has already been hit with that. I know the used market is quite sensitive to modifications, so that is something to just be wary of. But that said guys, at the end of the day, this car, or whatever car you're going to be buying, is going to be yours. So make it your own, enjoy it, have fun with it, and enjoy driving it. So that's that guys. It's a very short video. It's my first time here on the platform, but if you guys could like and subscribe, etc., that would be really appreciated. You know, I'd love for us to hit 1,000 subscribers, and with your support, you know, we can make more videos happen, potentially get a project car going. But thank you so much for your support, and I'll see you later.